I got my foursome. I'm the fifth one. I just can't golf. Getting too old for it, but I got my foursome already lined up. I think I got it lined up. I know I have. I can't remember nothing anymore. Bill, old man, getting crazy, getting old. 90 years old. This old boy ain't got a lot of things. Go Gamecocks. Love all y'all. Talk to you later, Bill, Jen, Pat, Preston. Have a good day. Love all y'all.
You'll get it. You've only been here for 16 months.
It's a P. It's okay.
Get there.
It's all good.
Get there. Now, all right, there you go. Gamecock Larry, 803-404-6100. We'll get into a little bit of Preston's thoughts from the game last night. A-plus game. Superstar shine. Also, we'll get into Camila Cardoso and her departure. Up next, you're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, she's Jen Jensen. It is the early game.
And this morning out on the highways, we don't really have any accidents to speak of. Not complaining by any means. So be careful out there this morning and hope your commute goes well. One more day in the 80s, looking for a high of 84. Then we could see some kind of heavy storms coming in tomorrow morning, 73 for the high. In fact, some of those storms could be coming in later tonight. Then 73 tomorrow, 63 on Thursday, and we kind of get into Saturday being more in the mid-60s. So again, enjoy another day, a little more spring, summer-like before it gets a little bit cooler. But right now, we are sitting at 68 on the early game.
Yeah, Caitlin's very skilled. She's a great player. She hit some tough shots, and there's not a whole lot you can do about some of the threes she hit. And I think, her role, or the team around her that plays a role, they did a good job of executing their role. So, ultimately they played better than us, and that's what it was.
Haley Van Lith last night talking about trying to guard Caitlin Clark, and I don't know if we're laughing. Maybe I'm laughing. Maybe I'm laughing inappropriately, Preston, at the fact that Haley Van Lith, she had it handed to her last night. She's not the reason LSU lost, but she had it handed to her. And if we've ever played sports, whether you've been a pitcher in Little League and it didn't go well, maybe a high school quarterback game didn't go well. In my case, early on, I don't let this shock you. 11, 12, 13-year-old Bill Gunner, not quite as athletic as he later would become, struggled guarding other point guards. Have been in Haley Van Lith's arena a time or two.
And this is the thing about sports, man. We all think we're the champion, but more of us are actually Haley Van Lith. We've all been cooked on a court or a field or a match many times, and that's what I can always relate to, that idea of, like, this person is so much better than me right now, and I cannot do anything about it. It is the most helpless. You're just looking at your coach like, please, can we do something? Because you're too much of a competitor. You don't want to say,
right,
hey, coach, I can't guard.
I've had enough.
You don't want to tap out, but you're like, man, can we please switch? Do something. I know, Coach Moki, you're a Hall of Fame coach. I know you have another plan for this, because obviously this is not working. This is the way I felt when I was playing against Jason Peters.
That was the one I was going to go to.
When I was a freshman.
That game scarred you because you always go back to that.
This is the way I felt. I was like, Coach, I appreciate your confidence in me, but this is not working. We need to figure something else out. And we never did. And that just got mushed all around the field. And it was just like, look, man, I'm getting cooked. I don't know what to tell you. Good thing I was a defensive lineman and nobody really pays attention to what's happening down there. But it just happens like that sometimes. And everybody has been a part of a game where you run up against a person that's just better than you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Clark had 41 last night, and for once did it as efficiently, I reckon, as Caitlin Clark, who takes a lot of shots.
She's a volume shooter, for sure.
13 of 29 last night. It wasn't a DeJounte Murray situation where he got 40 on 40 shots last week, but 13 of 29 last night, 9 of 20 from three-point range. She also had, and this is what does make Caitlin Clark pretty special, 41 points and 12 assists.
It's the assist.
She doesn't just take shots. She facilitates and gets everybody involved.
Well, because you're paying her so much attention, the defense is drawing her eyes on her, and she's able to make some of those passes she made were brilliant last night. And not to discredit the rest of the team for Iowa, they make a lot of shots. Granted, they are open a lot of times, but they do make the shots that they need to make. So it's a team effort, and they all play that role very well.
Other news from yesterday as it relates to South Carolina, because we'll kind of tune back to South Carolina now, is the news of Camila Cardoso announcing officially. I honestly, truthfully, and this just goes to, and I do actually want to come back to this because of the transfer portal. I did not know Camila Cardoso had another year of eligibility. But again, as we're kind of wrapping up the COVID years, as we're getting DJ Burns in his 6th year, Jermaine Cousinard in his 7th year, so forth and so on. But Camila Cardoso announcing officially yesterday that she will go to the WNBA. And again, as I said last night, I was scrolling across with the news, and at least on ESPN, projecting her as the number 4 pick.
Yeah, congratulations to her. That's a great decision for her to make. Obviously, just because you have another year doesn't mean you want to be here for another year. There's the school aspect. There's the college aspect. Columbia is a great town. I don't know if you want to live in Columbia for another year. So, I mean, hey, man, you want to go pro, be a professional, live into the dream that you've set yourself. Congratulations to her. Because, again, provided this season works out the way we all hope it does, what else is there for her to really accomplish on this level? It's time for her to kind of
championship. And I'm not.
And that's
being
what I'm
funny.
saying. That's what I'm saying. If this year works out the way we all hope it does, it's time to move on.
And honestly, the way Dawn's program is built, when it's your time to move on, you don't need to stay.
Yeah, you got to move.
There's somebody in the pipeline behind you that is expected to take your place. It's kind of like your expiration date, whether you like it or not, has arrived.
Yeah.
And for Camila Cardoso, Ashlyn Watkins is now ready to take your spot. It would be very polite of you to continue to move on, keep the conveyor belt rolling along, just churning out top 15, top 20 WNBA picks and so forth and so on. She put out yesterday on an Instagram post, "Thank you to everyone who has been part of my journey so far. I'm excited for what the future holds and can't wait to see where this next chapter takes us." There's more. You can check it out on Instagram, Camila_Cardoso on Twitter there. She gives a shout out to Gamecock Nation and does the usual. Want to thank God for blessing me with the ability to play basketball. Good for her there as she will move forward. Going back to last night's game, you pointed it. I think what got you excited the most is that the stars were stars. Angel Reese last night, how much did her injury play a role in the game? But she was fantastic. 17 points, 20 rebounds for her. She did what she had to try and do for her team. But she's not a volume scorer like Caitlin Clark is. Angel Reese is not a player who can keep her team in it with scoring. She has to do it. I think it's an unfair comparison, but almost in a Draymond Green-esque way by filling up the stat sheet, scoring some points, annoying the other team, grabbing rebounds. She had 4 assists last night, things of that nature that keep her team in it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting comparison. Also, she does have, and the only weakness I see in her game is that she has a proclivity to foul out, and she's not there when the team needs them at the end of the game. Though she was playing aggressive, and the call could have went either way for that 5th one, they needed her on the court. But, like you said, to that stat line, 20 rebounds, 17 points, she was the emotional center of that team. And you watch them in the huddle, oftentimes the eyes are pointed on her, and I think Kim Mulkey does a great job of letting the leaders lead. But also, Flau'jae Johnson was amazing, and a lot of people are questioning, like, hey, maybe we should have had Flau'jae on Caitlin a little bit earlier, but I don't know what the strategy was. I don't think it was a good one. But she was awesome. It's just rare that a game with so much hype, and the hype was really around the periphery of the game, all of these extracurricular activities and things, that it lives up to the hype on the court. It was just a tremendous basketball game and an opportunity for those women to shine. It was an awesome, awesome experience, everybody watching it.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. The search is on for Gamecock Larry's $50 bill. We've got some people weighing in. Eddie weighing in this morning says, "Someone stole Larry's money. Tell him to hit me up. I can get it back. I've got methods." We're out there looking out for you, Gamecock Larry. We'll continue on, get into a little bit of the men's side of things now as we know what is set completely with them. We'll talk a little men's Final Four when we come back. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner. She's Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, where the inventory's overflowing. The deals are in full bloom. You know what that means. It is the Springtacular sale going on right now at Love Chevrolet with exclusive specials on Suburbans, Tahoes, Silverados, Trailblazers, and you can get behind the wheel today and feel the possibilities of new adventures, new roads, new destinations. Just go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, because, again, it is the Springtacular savings sale at Love Chevrolet. Again, 14 acres of brand new Chevys. You're going to find the car, truck, or SUV you've been looking for. And with that sales staff that preaches integrity, honesty, and confidence in your purchase, you're going to feel great when you drive off the lot at Love Chevrolet. Go visit them, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. And together, let's drive.
And out there on the highways for your Tuesday morning, we do have a report of an accident. Dutch Fork Road at Roshmetz Road and Marcellus Road, that is, near I-20. We have an accident there. So be careful out there if you would this morning. One more day in the 80s, 84 exact to be the high. 73 tomorrow with storms coming in, and then we're in the 60s through about Saturday. Right now, though, pretty nice. It is 68 on the early game.
The craft beer card is back. That's right. Just in time for the spring and the summer as you like to get out, maybe go sit outside at some of your favorite breweries. The craft beer card is back, and it's just $79, but it's actually a $360 value. You can get basically you can get $30 worth of brews at 12 different craft beer locations. You just need to go to 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals. Again, it's only $79. Incredible deal. It's a $360 value. There's 12 different craft beer locations, and at each one, you can spend up to $30 for a $360 value. And again, go get yourself a craft beer card today. Not like enjoying a nice craft beer outside during the spring, maybe watching a little basketball. Go to 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals today to get your craft beer card. Men's Final Four is set, and we'll get to that here in just a second. Let's get out to the Love Chevrolet phone line. Scott wants to weigh in this morning. Scott, how you doing? What's on your mind?
I'm fabulous, folks. How are you guys doing?
Doing great.
Good. I drive a truck, so I am normally on the road 7 days a week, but I got to sit this weekend and watch both the men's and the women's games, and truly impressed, regardless of who's in there. On the women's side, that Iowa team, I'm a Hawkeye born and bred, but that team continues to impress me. But I got to tell you, that LSU team was so talented. I couldn't stay up for the rest of the USC and UConn game. I went to bed when they were tied at 59. Couldn't believe the ending, but just a fabulous coverage and all that on that. And the men's side, like I said, I'm a Hawkeye, so I'm rooting for the Big Ten. But I got to tell you, if Edie's got to go up against that UConn big man, that is going to be a monster game as well, because that UConn guy is completely dominant. I know he doesn't play the whole game because of his size, but he is absolutely a monster. I don't see anybody beating them, but if Edie gets to go up against him, I believe that's the best matchup that we can possibly see that would challenge them. They're just so, the way they destroyed Illinois was just, anyway, I look forward to the coverage. I look forward to you guys talking about it the next day. It's just a great time to, March Madness is always a great time to watch and listen.
Appreciate the phone call, Scott. Yeah, you talk about this is going to be the Final Four of the big men, right? This is really the Final Four, because you got DJ Burns. You got DJ Burns for North Carolina State. We're going to get a DJ Burns versus Zach Edey Final Four. And then on the flip side, big old 7'2", 280. And I think they've got him listed correctly. Preston, Donovan Clingan, the big center who averages right at 13 points a game, 12.9. He averages 7.5 rebounds. Just a sophomore, big boy, and he'll come into the season. He averages just over 22 minutes a game, shoots 64% from the field. He'll try himself a three-pointer every once in a while, because 7'2" people tend to do whatever 7'2" people want to do. And you do expect Connecticut, who is about an 8-point favorite. This is the fun. I think that's going to be a great game, Connecticut and Alabama, as we start there.
I'm really interested in the clashing styles. I think Alabama, obviously, with them playing inside and out, heavily relying on the three-pointer, it can make the game interesting, or it can make it a snooze fest very quickly. So they're going to have to shoot very well in order to stay competitive in that game.
Well, they're going to do that. You and I were kind of talking about, you were showing me a shot chart yesterday, kind of how not just Alabama, but the game has completely changed through the years.
Yeah, the chart was a chart from the shot chart from 2003 NBA compared to 2023 NBA. And essentially what you saw was threes in the paint is what the game has become, what Alabama has adapted based on analytics, and that's the way the new game has started. Very similar to how Caitlin Clark plays. With Caitlin Clark, it's either going to be a layup or it's going to be a three-pointer, and you see that mid-range game is missing. That is the way analytics has sort of guided basketball towards. The only issue with that is that if that three is not working, then it's very difficult to play against a team like UConn.
You come into this Final Four, Connecticut expected to be here. They've been in the top 5 basically all season. Purdue expected to be here. They've been in the top 5 all season. North Carolina State not expected to be here in any way, shape, or form. Alabama was a team at the beginning of the year that I thought had a chance to get here. And Preston, a lot of people, when South Carolina went to play Alabama, a lot of people looked at Alabama's record, and I think Alabama at the time, was not ranked. But if you looked at Alabama early in the season, they lost to Clemson by 8 at home. They lost to number 4 Purdue. This is at the time, by the way. They lost to number 4 Purdue. They lost to number 8 Creighton by 3. They lost to number 4 Arizona. That was some of the losses that Alabama had early in the season. They also had a very strange early season loss the day after Thanksgiving to Ohio State, which made no sense at all whatsoever. But given that Ohio State obviously ended up firing their coach. But Alabama was obviously a team that early in the season, they have 11 losses, was losing to really good teams. Nate Oates the other night talked about what it means for Alabama to get to the Final Four. Here's what he had to say.
When I was a kid, big basketball fan. I used to, going to date myself a little bit, you had the VHS tapes. So every time I had every one of the shining moments labeled on a VHS tape. So I could go back and watch that thing all summer. Then you start to grow up in the coaching profession and you just want to be at the Final Four, be in the hotel lobby so I can see the big name coaches that are there. And somehow I caught enough breaks. I'm coaching in one, which is unreal. I mean, give hope to a lot of high school coaches tonight, that's for sure. But I don't know if it's really hit me yet. It probably won't hit me until after the Final Four is over, because I'm going to enjoy it tonight a little bit, and then we got to try to figure out how to beat UConn because they're pretty good. They went on a 30-0 run, I heard, tonight. Is that correct? That's unheard of in the Elite Eight. That's crazy.
As Nate Oates talking about what it means to him, does that give you any nice, warm fuzzies on his personality? Because he is kind of the villain of this thing. Matt Painter is just there. He's just cardboard. Kevin Keats is the lovable. He's gotten people there. Danny Hurley is now showing personality, and we're like, oh, this guy's kind of he's a little salty. He's a little sweet. He's one of the games he post game interviewed. He talked about his wife doesn't get enough airtime, so he mentioned her and how she needs to get back to the hotel and wash his dinosaur underwear. It was very odd. Danny Hurley has gotten to have this odd personality. He's slightly Jim Harbaugh.
Okay.
He is slightly.
I like where you're going with this.
If you've listened enough, and then there's Nate Oates, who you feel kind of like is the villain of the entire thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna be very honest. That's one of the first times I've actually heard from Nate Oates. All I've heard was
voice catch you a little off guard.
Yeah, the voice definitely a legacy horse. What's going on? That was interesting. I've sort of familiarized myself with the story coming up through the high school ranks. That's always a really cool story for folks that are coming along. And then the idea of him thinking like, "Wow, I'm actually here." It kind of caught me off guard a little bit, softened my heart a little bit towards Nate.
Did it?
A little bit.
Not at all. That guy's a true villain, and they'll have to come up again, as we mentioned, with a way to slow down those Connecticut guards. Connecticut in particular. Connecticut is just a well-rounded, well-built team. 35 now. They're 35-3 on the season. 18-2 was their record in the Big East, winning that conference by 4 games. You look at it. Any idea? You want to take a stab here without looking over the last time Connecticut lost?
I don't know.
February 20th, they lost to Creighton, and they were popped pretty good. That was the last loss they had. They lost 85-66 to that Creighton team that I expected to be back in the Final Four. Couldn't get past Tennessee in the Sweet 16, but they finished out the season. I mean, they beat number 10. They beat Marquette twice, your guys. Seton Hall, Villanova, rolled over Providence, thumped Xavier, got past St. John's, a team now that many wonder if St. John's should have been in the NCAA tournament.
Well, Pitino obviously felt that way very, very, very clearly. And, it was interesting because after he threw him under the bus and backed up over them, they started playing very well, and they made a case for them to actually get there. And, I would have liked to have seen Pitino on the big stage. What's interesting about Nate Oates versus Pitino is that we know Pitino
is dirty,
but we like him. He's just a likable dude.
He's a likable, dirty guy.
Yeah, we kind of like this guy.
Makes
It's
sense.
just weird how that works. So, but yeah, I think this is going to be I'm just very interested in the contrasting of styles because I just tend to lean probably in more things in the old school sort of ways of watching it. So even when I watch the Alabama style of basketball, I'm not comfortable with it, but it's very successful.
I'll admit I'm comfortable. We'll talk some more basketball as we roll through the show. Preston's got some buzz around Spencer Rattler.
I'm just saying.
We'll let Preston explain that to you when we come back. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, she's Jen Jensen. It's the early game.
And how many quarterbacks do you think will be taken in round one?
I'm going to go Caleb Williams, number 1 overall.
I'm going to stand strong and think Washington's still going to take Drake May at number 2. Jaden Daniels after
The quarterback order of the top 5, and how many quarterbacks do you think will be taken in round 1?
All right, let's try this again. Good grief.
5, and how many quarterbacks do you think will be taken in round 1?
I'm going to go Caleb Williams, number 1 overall. I'm going to stand strong and think Washington's still going to take Drake May at number 2. Jaden Daniels after that. I'll have J.J. McCarthy 4th. The 5th quarterback off the board, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Spencer Rattler leaks his way in. I think there's starting to be a little bit of buzz around the former South Carolina quarterback right now.
The quarterback order of the top 5, and how many quarterbacks do you think will be taken in round 1?
I'm going to go Caleb Williams.
All right, there you go. So that is what is that off of?
That was from Gojo. That was from Gojo and Golic. And so when we was having them talk, they said 2 of my favorite things: J.J. McCarthy number 4 and Spencer Rattler number 5. My 2 guys.
J.J. McCarthy. Oh, okay. Well, at least I know who to bet against next year.
I'm just telling you. But yeah, so there seems to be some varying reports because I've seen people say that they think Spencer's going to be on the higher side of quarterbacks taken. People are saying that they think the scouts have maybe been fatigued with Spencer, and essentially they're not going to pick him because we're just used to seeing him. And it's kind of saying the same thing about Michael Penix Jr.
The thing, you've said this, and we've kind of kicked it around more and more, is that it just takes one team to like you. Mm-hmm. And in this scenario, and we've seen this is the great or the bad, depending on if it's your franchise. It just takes one franchise to see Spencer Rattler and be enamored with him. Now, I don't know if that means the first round, but if you look into the second round and you look at quarterbacks that are kind of aging out a little bit, and if somebody says, I can get this guy who has an NFL-esque arm. The height, if that's the thing you want to question, thank goodness we've not heard about his hand size. That's been kind of enjoyable to not have to hear about Spencer Rattler's hand size. But if somebody looks at him and says, all right, we can groom this young man for 2 years and then see what he is, kind of what the Packers did with Jordan Love, it just takes one to love you, right?
Yeah, it only takes one team, and that's where it's going to be very interesting. Is a team going to be willing to reach for him early? I don't know. What is the potential how early might he go? Could it be early second round? Could it be late second round, third round? It all depends on where a team is willing to take him. So I'm very curious to see how this plays out.
I think as I just glance and you go to the back half of the second round, Preston, go to the back half of the second round, I'll give you one right here. Pick 54, the Cleveland Browns. Because you got Deshaun Watson. You got something named Joe Flacco still hanging around. Oh, he's not?
They've upgraded, maybe.
Maybe?
Do you know one of our favorite games, Bill? Is he a journeyman? Dun, 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 dun.
The answer is going to be yes.
Do you know who the backup is?
No.
Jameis.
Oh, that is a disaster in Cleveland. That is a disaster. Nothing good about
Jameis is here to provide some leadership.
I did not know. I missed that free agent signing. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll go.
So we would prefer Spencer not go to there.
Don't go hang out with Jameis Winston. How do you like number 61, late half, the Detroit Lions?
Solid franchise, solid organization, aging quarterback, but a solidly quarterback going towards the back nine of his career. That would be a great spot for him.
Is it too early to look for the Chiefs? Of course, the Chiefs really in the second round. Chiefs really don't. They're still in Super Bowl win mode. They don't need to take a backup quarterback in the second round. That'd be a bad pick for them.
I mean, Mahomes, all things, he's going to be there forever, for as long as he wants to be. That might not be a spot where he ends up playing, but it could be a spot where he gets signed, goes under that tutelage, and gets to another team from there after that. Definitely a great place to go and learn. The whole thing about this is you want to go to an organization that's stable. You want to go to an organization that's stable, where you're able to grow, where you're able to learn, develop. And so,
the Bears. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's why we're skipping pick 75. It's the Bears.
Yeah.
I do look at the two picks right in front of them again, 73 and 74, the Lions and the Falcons. Falcons, how much do you get out of Kirk Cousins going forward?
Yeah, that's a risky pick. That's risky. He's coming off an Achilles. He's already up in age. That wouldn't be a bad spot for him to land either.
Bring him in. Let him sit there behind Kirk Cousins, kind of develop a little bit. Again, wherever he goes, he doesn't need to be thrown into the starter spot this year. Let him spend 1 year redshirting, if you will. And that's an interesting theory there with, was that Golick that was saying that? Mike Golick Jr. That was saying it. So Spencer Rattler getting some buzz as we turn the calendar now toward the NFL draft, and that will be here at the end of the month and should be, again, a lot of fun to kind of follow and see. Xavier Legette, I have not really looked at a mock draft over the last 10 days or so to see where Legette is moving up. Marcellus Dio, if he's been able to work his way up further than maybe the 6th round, or if he's towards the back half, maybe even free agency. But, Preston, it will be fun. Now, not to spend a whole lot of time on this, but the question will be is, we are claiming Spencer Rattler as our quarterback draft pick, not Oklahoma, right?
Yes. He's ours.
They're going to say University of South Carolina.
100%.
They'll flash it up there. They'll flash how many Oklahoma highlights? Over, under, 3.5?
Over.
Over?
I think those were probably some better highlights.
Oh, boy. Well, it's going to be hard for us to claim it. We'll give it our best.
He has a whole season that he cannot work with, that he was here with. So one whole season did not count.
We'll talk some spring football. I want to talk about freshman offensive lineman with Preston Thorne, J.C. Sherbert next. Kind of like having two computers now. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Spring is here, and that means making your yard look beautiful. That's why I rely upon Carolina Turf, Grass, and Landscape Supply in Lexington. Give them a phone call today and set up fertilizer and weed control programs specific for your yard. That's 803-446-6525. You can get a mulch discount when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. So call Carolina Turf, Grass, and Landscape Supply today. 803-446-6525. All right, let me see here. All right, and pull this back up. 3, 2, 1. Bill Gunner for Carolina Turf, Grass, and Landscape Supply. Spring is here, and maybe you're thinking about having a nice plant. I don't know what to call it. 3, 2, 1. Bill Gunner for Carolina Turf, Grass, and Landscape Supply. Spring is here. You want that yard looking beautiful. That's why I rely upon Carolina Turf, Grass, and Landscape Supply. Right now, take advantage of a fertilizer and weed control program. You can even get a mulch discount when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. Call Carolina Turf, Grass, and Landscape Supply today, 803-446-6525. Tell them you heard it on 107.5 The Game with Bill Gunner and Preston Thorne. Are you ready for the spring? If not, get that yard ready with Carolina Turf, Grass, and Landscape Supply. You want to get out there this spring and knock the baseball around, maybe play a little football on the spring grass, and with Carolina Turf, Grass, and Landscape Supply, you can do just that. Located in Lexington, give them a phone call today, 803-446-6525. Mention us on 107.5 The Game, Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, and get a mulch discount. You will be thrilled with the product from Carolina Turf, Grass, and Landscape Supply.
Later this evening. So 73 tomorrow with some rain, and then we're into the 60s through Saturday. But right now it's 68 on the early game.
Seven a.m. on your Tuesday morning, April the 2nd. Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen, and joined in just a second by J.C. Sherbert. But let me remind you, so many different ways you can listen, join in, be a part of the program each morning. Of course, we've always been on 107.5 The Game right here in Columbia. But don't forget about our good friends down in Florence, 100.5 The Game. And, of course, in the Grand Strand, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And, as always, if you're traveling outside the listening area, go to your app store on your smartphone, download the 107.5 The Game app, and you can take us anywhere. We've had people from South Africa, from Germany. We've had Hawaii. I believe, got a Chris in Las Vegas who joins us. We've got our good buddy Jim in Carolina Beach up in North Carolina who listens via the app. So many ways you can consume us each and every morning. Again, 107.5 The Game in Columbia, 100.5 The Game in Florence, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach, the app, and, of course, the live stream, the Game TV on YouTube at the Game TV Radio, of course, sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Another way you can stream us each and every morning. That way you never miss a single April Fool's joke or a smart aleck comment by Jen. 99% of the time directed at me. I always want to be able to ready to get those and enjoy them. Isn't that right, Jennifer?
Absolutely. Yes, I look forward to shooting anything I can your way, barbs and all.
That's right. There you go. So make sure you download the 107.5 The Game app or listen to us wherever you may be. Out to the Love Chevy phone lines we go. J.C. Sherbert joining us. And, J.C., how is, now that we have both Final Four set, how are the brackets looking? Did you get any Final Four teams correct?
Yeah, UConn. I had Alabama in one, and then I went back and changed it, so I guess that doesn't count. I mean, initial inclinations don't count in these things, do they? My wife was about to win the Chief Sports bracket contest, which would have been uncomfortable, but Clemson winning kind of put her out of it, and then Purdue advancing kind of put, because she had Creighton, so it kind of put her down the list. But yeah, it hadn't been it had been a great year filling out a bracket, but round by round it's been pretty solid. I sort of went against the grain and took Clemson in all three games, just because I thought, Gamecock Tiger rivalry aside, and the way they finished aside, they're a good they've been a good basketball team, and they play defense, and they're well coached, and they got players. And not to say I called them going to the Elite Eight, but every round I looked at the matchup, I'm like, they could beat Baylor. And fortunately for me, The last one, I switched and took Alabama. So the Clemson games this year, I'm doing pretty well. But other than that, no, my bracket got shot a while back. So I think we'll see what happens, because I think we're heading towards a Purdue UConn final, and I didn't have either one of those teams in the final, I don't think.
JC, where do you bench, cut, start? Your 3 weeks of the NCAA basketball tournament. Preston brought this up. Bench, cut, start. How would you rank opening weekend, Sweet 16 Elite weekend, or Elite 8 weekend, and Final Four weekend? Bench, let's see, start one, bench the other, cut the third. Which one? How do you go with that?
I'm going to start opening weekend, bench the Sweet 16 Elite 8 and cut the Final Four.
He's with me.
Now look, it depends. Again, everything has context. I mean, are we talking about, like, watching my team play? Well, then it'd probably be in reverse order. But if you're talking about just, like, as a casual fan, what excites me more, definitely the first and second rounds. I mean, there's games on all day. There's drama. It never lacks for entertainment. You learn something. I always think it's important to learn something, and you learn something because you're like, well, that's where Oakland University is. Oh, this guy coached LeBron James in high school. And so it's just a massively awesome experience. And I just don't think that I think once you get to the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 and then the Final Four, it's a little bit different in terms of the drama and the volume of games and stuff.
Yeah, that's still my biggest upset of the tournament is Oakland's not in Oakland. That's been a shocker.
It's in Michigan.
Yeah, that's been my biggest upset.
I knew it wasn't in Oakland, California, man, but honestly, I said it was somewhere in the Midwest. I said I didn't know.
Again, being a Michigan fan back in the late 90s, because they would play Oakland every year and thump them with Robert Traylor or Lewis Bullock or, somebody, Maurice Taylor, obviously even post, they would thump. I was like, I knew where that is. I told Preston this. Preston was surprised, and the reason I asked you that was because last week as we were talking about this, I told him, I was like, man, Final Four weekend, now if your team's in it, this is different, mind you, but I've lived 41 years. I've only seen South Carolina at one time. Maybe the only time I see them. But if your team's not in it, it might actually be the most overrated sports weekend, if you want to truly hot take, the overrated sports weekend, because it got me thinking as you said this, Purdue, Connecticut might be a phenomenal basketball game. I am not sure I would invest a 9:20 start time or whatever they go with to watch Purdue and Connecticut, because on paper that just sounds brutal. But it could be a great game. I'm just saying I'm not sure that gets my, I've got to stay up till 9 o'clock to watch the tip-off.
Well, and then you have years like last year where there was no drama. I mean, and really honestly, you normally have like one upstart in the Final Four. I mean, I guess the first year when I was a kid, it was Indiana, UNLV, Syracuse, and Providence. And Providence was coached by Rick Pitino, and Billy Donovan was the point guard on that team. And, Providence got their butt kicked. There's normally that one upstart. But then some years, like last year, there's three, and you're like, you're pulling for Florida Atlantic, and you're pulling for San Diego State, you're pulling for Miami in the early rounds. But when you get to the Final Four, you're like, well, it's UConn versus the field, and the field is not very strong. And then occasionally, though, Bill, you'll get Wisconsin beating Kentucky in the semis, or a great upset like Duke and UNLV back in the day. And it's worth it, The Duke-North Carolina game, what was it, 2 years ago, where that was it for Coach K, and here comes UNC, I think it's an 8 or 9 seed, and beats them. My gosh. Eric Church cancels a concert.
Wow.
So occasionally, you get that. But, it doesn't deliver every year like the first and second rounds, in my opinion.
No, and again, even this week and this Saturday, I'll be over in Atlanta, over at Truist Park, and I'm going to watch it over there, kind of in the Battery. If I don't go to the Braves game, I'm going to the Braves game on Sunday. But I will not. It's not like I'm like, oh man, we got to have a table at 6:30. Over there in the Battery to watch the 7 o'clock game. And by the way, I just confirmed the championship game, according to ESPN, it's listed as a 9:20 tip time, Monday, April 8th, 2024, listed at 9:20 p.m. As a person who does a 6 a.m. radio show, and JC, unfortunately, we will lean on you at 5 a.m. your time, or I guess 6 a.m. your time next week. That's not convenient. Not convenient at all. And that's something we talk about. We talk about the football national championship being on Monday night or the Super Bowl being on Sunday. This might be, again, the worst of the three to have a 9:20 national championship start time and try and showcase the end of the tournament.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
Yeah.
That's a rough one.
You're not staying up for one shining moment.
No.
And look, I've been watching this thing since I was a kid, so I mean, I'll probably watch part of it at least. But I mean, like last year, San Diego State really never. I mean, I don't know. UConn just sort of rolled over them, and that happens sometimes. I was actually in Phoenix for North Carolina and Gonzaga a couple of years ago, and then that was the worst performance in two games by a national champion I think I've ever seen. North Carolina just kind of slogged past Oregon, and then Gonzaga just played terribly on Monday. By the time they got to just completely choked like they do, and North Carolina just kind of ho-hum to a national championship. But then you have some games like the first one I was telling you, where Keith Smart hit the shot against Syracuse. And Bobby Knight won the national title in '87. You had a Michigan Seton Hall game that went down to the wire back then. Danny and the Miracles with Oklahoma. I think all those are 1-point games. So, sometimes it delivers, sometimes it doesn't. But it is a late start, especially for people on the East Coast, man. That's especially if you got to get up that early the next morning. That is rough.
803-404-6100. Didn't get to this real quick. Preston, how's your bracket? Final four teams, how many?
I need to check, but
so combined.
My only thing was, did I beat my brother? And that's all I need to check on. That's all I need to check on.
We'll get the update.
But I think he had UConn.
The Thorne family Final Four. We'll get to that. Get into some spring football practice. I saw on the BigSpur.com the other day. You can go there. You can get all your great recruiting information as well as spring practice information. But I saw the other day some props being given to freshman offensive lineman Josiah Thompson coming in. I'm interested to discuss the offensive line with J.C. Sherbert and Preston Thorne, but I also want Preston's take. As he got older, now it's different. JC, we remember this 20 years ago. Preston Thorne didn't get true freshmen just weeks out of high school showing up in January that he got to go against. He had to wait until the summertime. But I want Preston's senior recollection of going against these young offensive linemen. Were they fresh meat? Did you line up across from them and be like, oh, buddy, I'm about to show you a thing or two. Just hold on. We'll get Preston's take on that. Talk a little offensive line, obviously a big part of the upcoming Gamecock season. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, joined as always on a Tuesday by J.C. Sherbert of thebigspur.com. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Corley Pool Solutions. It's that time of year right now when you want to make sure your pool maintenance is being lined up, whether it's weekly, monthly, or several times per week. You want a qualified technician that will perform a great maintenance program. And guess what? That is exactly what the pool guru, Tracy Corley, does with Corley Pool Solutions. He and his team are ready. You can get a certified pool professional out there tomorrow with a phone call today, whether it's Tracy, Ashley, Evan, or Miss Laurel. Give them a phone call and line up your pool maintenance today. 803-445-8109. Don't wait until it's too late and they're all booked. You need to call today and get your pool maintenance because Corley Pool Solutions believes in providing the absolute highest quality swimming pool service at the most affordable price, and that includes flat rate pricing, including all of the chemicals. Call Corley Pool Solutions today, 803-445-8109.
Dutch Fork Road at Rochemetz Road, an accident there. Also Marcellus Road near I-20. And 378 near Fort Jackson Boulevard also reporting a slowdown. So do be careful. 84 for the high today, and some rain coming in later this evening, and we'll be rolling into this tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow we see some rain and potential storms, and we are looking for a high of only about 76. And 63 on Thursday, really staying in the 60s through Saturday. Right now, though, it's about what it will be this weekend. It's 67 on the early game.
Eight 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Reminder, this coming Friday, we will be out at Charwood. We want to see you. We have just a few spots left for the 107.5 The Game golf tournament out at Charwood, 10 a.m. Shotgun start, $400 per team. We're only taking foursomes right now, $400 per team. You need to call out today and get registered. There's just a few spots. Talked with Rock Lucas yesterday. We're over 20 teams. We're excited. We look forward to seeing everyone out there bright and early. We'll have onion sausage, sponsored by Old Timey Meat Market. We'll have a mimosa bar, sponsored by Saki's Wine and Spirits. We will have great lunch, box lunch from Firehouse Subs. We love working with them. We look forward to Firehouse Subs being out there for lunch. We'll have some great giveaways, whether it's baseball tickets, Carowinds tickets, concert tickets, craft beer passport, and, of course, we will play some golf on a great course, Charwood Golf Club. So come on out, get registered today, and come hang out. Preston and I will be out early. And a reminder, Preston Thorne will hit the ceremonial first tee shot to make sure you feel good about your tee shot. Correct, Preston? You've been working hard.
Been hardly working, sir.
There you
go.
We're
ready to go.
One of the two. Hardly working, working hard. Call and get registered today at Charwood. 803-755-2000 is how you can do that. Look forward to seeing you on Friday.
I have a quick announcement that I think is very important. Gamecock Larry found his money.
Oh, good. Whew. JC, you missed that early on. We tuned into Gamecock Larry for a Gamecock update, only to discover that he was missing one of his two $50 bills, and there was concern. There was also a lot of help being offered from apparently debt collectors or repo men looking to help Gamecock Larry. So we can safely update Gamecock Larry has found his $50 bill, and now can help support Garnet Trust in NIL. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in if you want to do so this morning. Shane Beamer expected to talk later on today, his weekly Tuesday press conference to kind of update the spring. I think it's going as well as you would want, Preston and JC. It's kind of a quiet spring. That's good. There's only been, I think, one significant injury. Juju McDowell broke his collarbone. But that offensive line, this is a huge spring, I think, for Lonnie Teasley. Throw Greg Adkins in there. Throw Sean Elliott in there, guys. They are not lacking. They might be inexperienced. And, Preston, I'll start with you. When you get young guys like this and they come in and they're trying to find their way, last year it was Tree Babalade as a freshman stepping in at left tackle. I think it was left tackle or right tackle against Georgia. Trevon Ball got a lot of snaps. Marky Anderson got hurt. Now you're adding Josiah Thompson, Cam Pringle is there, Blake Franks. Young offensive linemen coming into a program. Now, how different is it 20 years later than when you were experiencing these linemen and maybe you were licking your chops when they put the pads on and went, ho, 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 come here, young freshman. Let me show you a thing or two.
Yeah, Tonka Hemingway and Boogie should be salivating right now. They should be really excited about these young freshmen during spring practice because you have all these years of experience on them, plus the strength, plus all of that. It should be a really difficult spring. And if you're listening out there and you hear things about the offensive line has struggled, this spring, I would say that's a good thing because we hope that the offensive line is struggling against our defensive line because our defensive line are veterans. Now, for me, I can think of two guys. Chris White, Chester's own Chris White, and Jabari Levy. Those two guys, when they came in, what I knew was that I was going to be more savvy than them. So I had a couple of veteran tricks that I could, YMCA those guys. The football equivalent to the YMCA game, I could old man game them a little bit. But what Chris White had was tremendous aggressiveness. Chris was going to play to the, what do we call it, the echo of the whistle.
Right.
He was going to continue the play. And Jabari was just strong. And so even though they didn't have the exact techniques that they were going to eventually learn, you just see some of those traits in young guys. So you just want to look for more so traits than probably performance because they probably should be getting beat up a little bit this spring by those veteran defensive linemen.
JC, what's your thoughts there as this line, especially these young, talented guys, try to develop and take over a guy, surpass a guy like a Rashawn Lee, a Ja'Kai Moore, who is back for year 23 in college, guys like that. What is your take on what we hear so far in a guy like Josiah Thompson apparently having a solid spring camp?
Well, they need some answers at tackle. Obviously, you sort of look at it. Casey Henry is a capable tackle. I think he's a starter if he's healthy for now, at least for this year. You look on the other side, you got Ja'Kai Moore. He's kind of shuffled back and forth between guard and tackle, and then everybody else is young. You do have the transfer that came in from Oklahoma that has some experience at tackle, but I think – if they don't get a tackle out of the portal this next go-around, which I do think they'll look for one, it could be that you're looking at either another year of Babalade out there or Josiah Thompson starts as a true freshman. Now, look, Josiah Thompson was the number one tackle in the country by a lot of the ranking services. Whether you agree with it or not, I think, he had that type of high skill set. And, look, people get worried about that, nervous, but, Alabama started a true freshman. I mean, they get Caden Proctor, who obviously has made headlines for more than just his play, was a freshman All-American and started every game for them. Now, was he perfect? No, but it never is in this league on the offensive line. You just you got to win your share of battles. I think they're pretty set inside. I think there's a lot of competition there right now. I think you mentioned Rashawn Lee. I think you could just mark him down as the starting center unless they move him to guard and have another center. But I think right now, he was so good at center last year, Bill. I think that's his game. I think moving him out to tackle helped because there were no tackles. But I think he, in and of himself, is a center and an older guy. Torricelli Simpkins, a kid they brought in from North Carolina Central, obviously is a guy I've heard really good things about from a number of folks. Preston probably has too. Talking to John Strickland on our show last week, he projected Torricelli to start. So he, that's how strongly people feel about him. Plus, you got Trevon Ball back. They love Marquis Anderson. He's got to continue to come on and remain healthy. And they played a lot of snaps last year. These are young, talented guys. So tackle, I think for right now, is the issue. And for that reason, I'm going to say this about this offensive line this year. I don't think there's any chance they're not better, unless there's another run of injuries. And if that's the case, somebody needs to sacrifice a bucket of chicken like they did in Major League to the gods or something like that, because something's wrong in the universe. Because if that happens to Gamecocks this year, okay, because last year was unprecedented. But I think if you're asking, like, okay, well, when is all this great recruiting going to pay off, and when is Carolina going to be, top 4 in the league offensive line-wise, I think you're about a year away, just because of the youth, and you got a lot of first and second year guys who are ultra talented, and in that position, it's developmental, and it takes a little time. Quite frankly, it just takes a little time. It's not that a freshman can't come in and start. Preston played with Travell Wharton. We've seen other guys come in and start early in their career and be just fine. But it is a challenge. And so overall, I think they're probably a year away from being really good, but I do expect improvement. And I think the number one thing is get those tackle positions settled. get some options there, develop who you're going to be playing there, because I think the interior is going to be fine. A lot of competition. You can really, they're going to have some depth, things like that. But outside, I think, if it's not Josiah Thompson, who is it? And that's going to be the question.
Preston, how much has recruiting the tackle position changed in 20 years, you think? I remember having a conversation with Eric Wolford about 10 years ago, for the 11, maybe further back. I can't remember when he left, but I remember talking with him after a camp where he was putting guys through agility drills and what do I want to call them, stretching drills to see how flexible they were, because the athleticism of defensive ends in the SEC, I think, has increased so much exponentially since when you played.
Yeah, tremendously. And what offensive tackles have to do, they're the only position that has to do their job going backwards. They have to be trying to stop a freight train from coming, and the freight train has any direction. It's not even on a track, so it's very difficult to do that. So what you'll see is a lot of more of these athletic guys who maybe just were a tad slow for the D-line, moving over to O-line. Shout out to my guy, Nashawn Goddard. He played D-line for one practice, and they were like, "You're going to play tackle, son." And, that's kind of how that worked. And even when I think about Travell, who was more of a finesse guy, the way he played, but he was just so good with his feet and athleticism. I know we think about strength a lot for offensive linemen, but really the game is played with their feet.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the offensive line discussion. Torian Gray spoke last week. We'll let JC kind of weigh in on what he heard, because the secondary, that's another area that has to be much improved this year. I know it's easy to say, and rightfully so. Well, if the defensive line's better, I think that the secondary will look better. But we'll talk about that secondary and how they're developing. We'll get into a little bit more spring football. Shane Beamer set to talk later on today at 12:30. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, joined as we are each and every Tuesday by J.C. Sherbert and, of course, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Every great meal, especially on the grill, starts at Old Time Meat Market. Trust me on this. It is officially grilling season. I have been visiting Old Timey Meat Market in Lexington frequently, and you need to as well. Whether it's the St. Andrews location in Irmo, South Congaree, or the Lexington store, you can believe that Old Timey Meat Market is going to have the absolute best custom cuts of meat. You can get them specially ordered. They'll do whatever they can to make sure you find exactly what you are looking for, whether it's beef, pork, poultry, seafood. Trust me, the folks at Old Timey Meat Market take care of the Gunner family, and I am thrilled to go in there each and every time and see what is behind the counter, because it is the meat buying way that is a non-grocery store experience. Trust me, you'll love it. Old Timey Meat Market. 3 locations to visit for beef, pork, poultry, seafood, whether it's Lexington, whether it's South Congaree or St. Andrews Road. Stop by Old Timey Meat Market today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Dutch Fork Road at Roshmetz Road, an accident there. Also Green Lawn and Garner's Ferry. I-26 westbound at exit 116. Also still working an earlier slowdown at Marcellus Road near I-20. And Highway 378 near Fort Jackson Boulevard. 84 will be our high today. Some storms coming in later tonight and into tomorrow. 73 for the high tomorrow. Then we'll be kind of low to mid-60s really through about Saturday. Right now, 67 on the early game.
Reminder, coming up tomorrow night, we'll have baseball right here at 107.5 The Game. 6:45 pregame against Georgia Southern over at Founders Park. 7 o'clock first pitch, but again, 6:45 pregame. And with that in mind, you need to go to 1075thegame.com and register for the Palmetto Citizens FCU Grand Slam giveaway. Every game, $25 is added to the pot. And right now, because South Carolina's not hit a Grand Slam this year, there is $700 in the pot. How can you win it? Well, go to 1075thegame.com and register for the Palmetto Citizens FCU Grand Slam giveaway. And if a Gamecock hitter gets a Grand Slam in a game, well, guess what? You're in line to potentially win the pot right now, $700. Again, how do you win? Just go to 1075thegame.com and register the Palmetto Citizens FCU Grand Slam giveaway. Guys, I'm going to play you some audio here real quick. Preston Thorne, joined again, as always, by J.C. Sherbert on a Tuesday morning. This is a kind of a highly thought-of recruit from a year ago. I believe he redshirted last year. Vakari Swain, playing defensive back. South Carolina was able to hold off Colorado for him. This is last Thursday, him talking about his development under Torian Gray.
When I first got here, I still kind of had
something going on. That's the second time. Last week it was Brant Snedeker that did that to us.
Are we using CDs back then?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of Skip in a minute.
We wouldn't want, we're only a...
that brought me back to a time and place, man.
DJ Jazzy J.
Put your CD in and it just...
DJ Jazzy Jen on the ones and twos there with the Vakari Swain audio. We'll skip the audio because, we'll skip the audio. J.C. Sherbert, Preston Thorne, let's start with this. We know Nick Emanwari. We know about DQ Smith. We know about Jalen Kilgore. We know about O'Donnell Fortune. But there is a bunch of young defensive backs. Vakari Swain, Emery Floyd, Judge Collier is in that mix. Keenan Nelson Jr., we shouldn't give up on him just yet. I'm sure I'm leaving somebody else out that are transfers. Gerald Kilgore, the brother of Jalen, coming in. Preston, for defensive backs, biggest thing they have to develop during the spring from what you remember from those good ones from Andre Goodman and Dante Robinson and Sheldon Brown and so forth and so on?
Well, those dudes are very good. It seems like for this group, when you talk about Nick and DQ, they have to develop their coverage skills. They got exposed a little bit when they were playing in slot positions. They got exposed, and teams seemed to take advantage of that. Now, whether that was them or whether that was scheme, that's up for film work. We're not privy to that information. Your corner guys, who are the younger guys, they're going to have to just work on being able to compete and win reps, because in the SEC you're going to get beat, and they have to figure out how they can get beat one play and come back and make the cliche, as they say, the next play. And that's the biggest mindset thing. These guys are all athletically capable, but are they going to be mentally tough enough to play in the SEC game after game, play after play? And I think that's what you would look to develop.
Who do you, JC, I mean, Judge Collier played a good bit last year. Emery Floyd, South Carolina held off him going to Florida. Vakari Swain is an incredible athlete, could play offense or defense. As a matter of fact, Emery Floyd I've seen get a few snaps on offense because of his speed. I mentioned Gerald Kilgore in that group. How do you see this shaking out? Because as Preston also said, it's not like Eamon Warrior and DQ Smith were playing at an All-American level last year.
Yeah, but I think they're fine. I think if you look at the way they finished in coverage, they got that corrected. I'm not saying it is scheme because you get beat one-on-one. I don't know. That could be technique, but sometimes you just get beat. But if you notice down the stretch, Nick didn't get beat a whole lot, and neither did DQ. So I think those three are set in stone, and quite frankly, I don't know that there's I'm sure there is, but who's better who has a better trio of safeties? I mean, those guys are all really good. I mean, Jelon Kilgore was amazing as a freshman. So I think they're pretty much set there. There is depth. You mentioned Keenan Nelson Jr. probably at nickel. Peyton Williams is a guy that, played some his freshman year, didn't play a lot last year on the back end. You mentioned the other Kilgore coming in. I think they've got to develop some depth at safety for sure. But I think right now with the starters, they're set. Then corner, I think O'Donnell Fortune's a safe bet at one. He's a lot like Marcellus Dial and some of the others. He's got to get better and better and better and then peak at the end, and he's got a chance to play pro football if he does that. He certainly had his moments, but it's kind of his time at corner. And then the other one, until it's otherwise, I mean, it's going to be Judge Collier. And if Judge holds on to this one, I think Judge could end up starting for 3 years here. He's just one of those in-state kids that tested well at camp. You took a flyer on, and lo and behold, he's really good at football. So that's the deal there. Vakari Swain certainly, I think, going to make a move, and Emery Floyd as well. And Jalua Solomon, of course, is a player that they think could play this year, who's coming in at corner as well. So they're going to have some interesting decisions to make depth-wise there. But right now, it's the two in-state products, which the state's really good at producing corners, in O'Donnell Fortune and Judge Collier until otherwise noted. I have heard that Swain has had a good spring. Floyd as well, concentrating on football instead of track now. And then they're really excited about Jalua Solomon on top of that. So it's going to be interesting back there, but they certainly don't lack for depth and talent. I think that's one thing that maybe because the defense struggled for the first, 3/4 of the season last year, that gets lost on some people that South Carolina's got just about everybody back on that side of the ball. The players they did lose through the portal, they upgraded, especially at linebacker speed-wise. And then they added some depth pieces in the portal, and they got a lot of good young players at the secondary. So there's really no reason why this defense can't be good this year when you look at the personnel. And I think sometimes that gets lost a little bit on fans because of the struggles last season. But you look at how they ended last year, you look at the players they added, you look at who didn't leave, you have some expectation of improvement and growth. And I think expectations for this defense should be a lot higher than they were last season.
That tune right there is Sporty Sports Talk. Potential overreaction and overhype. Are you two ready for a Sporty Sports Talk? Complete overreaction, complete reckless speculation. Is O'Donnell Fortune in line to have a senior season like Xavier Legette? This was a guy that, say what you want about him as a coach, but as an evaluator, Will Muschamp and his staff loved. Clayton White, when he arrived, talked about the dog in O'Donnell Fortune. JC just pointed it out, and when he said it, I thought about it. Again, completely overzealous, overhyped speculation on April the 2nd.
Bill, you're back.
Told you I wasn't going to do this, but here I am doing it.
You're back.
It is a contract year for O'Donnell Fortune, as JC said. Does he have the offseason, and maybe not the type of season because defensive back, wide receiver, totally different, but there are things, JC and Preston, I'll start with you, that O'Donnell Fortune, he's got the link, he's got the skill, that he has the kind of season similar to Xavier Legette and becomes a top 4, top 3 realm type pick.
Ooh, that's a good question. This is a name that has been around, but I honestly cannot put a lot of game film in my mind with him playing.
He had the big interception against Notre Dame.
Yeah, there's a possibility there. There's a possibility. I would never discount it. And like you say, that idea of you saying, oh, this is actually my time, that I've seen that light a fire under some folks for different reasons. So I like this. I like it. Bill's back.
JC, I'll let you get to that when we come back from break. Hold your hot take. Hold your hot take. I'll get to you when we come back, and we'll let you weigh in on that. That'll be our new tune. When we're ready for completely overzealous, completely reckless speculation and hype, we'll play a little music for you moving forward. You're listening to The Early Game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. For nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and Mid-State Roofing, well, they've been the leader, the proven leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry, and they're ready to help you. We've got some summer thunderstorms that'll be rolling around in June and July, and is your roof ready to handle that? If not, you can call Mid-State Roofing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even you can wake up in the middle of the night, discover a leak, and realize, better get this fixed. Guess what? Mid-State Roofing is there to help you no matter what time, 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Mid-State Roofing has an on-call technician 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. You can visit them on the web as well for more information, midstateroofing.com. Whether you're in Florence, whether you're in Myrtle Beach, whether you're right here in Columbia, or wherever you're listening on the 107.5 The Game app this morning, Mid-State Roofing is ready to help you. So if you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. $7:47 on your Tuesday morning, and when we last left you, it might have been the caramel butter pecan Dunkin' Donuts iced coffee that I got this morning. It might have just been that we're heading into the spring season. The weather's a little bit better. Or it might have just been that I can't contain myself. I had gone through overzealous, overexcitement, completely overreaction on O'Donnell Fortune, who is going into his very last season. I don't know if it's his senior season or not. I guess but whatever it is, there's no more eligibility left. He's got to step up, and I presented, could he be this year's Xavier Legette, a guy who steps up in his senior season knowing that the NFL draft is on the horizon and he needs to play better. JC, when I left you, it sounded like you were ready to tell me not so fast, my friend.
I mean, Xavier Legette put up gaudy numbers. I mean, he was a kind of unstoppable freak. I mean, I would settle for Darius Rush or Cam Smith.
I'll take it.
I think those are good comparisons. I mean, Darius had a really good senior year, and Cam shut down his side of the field pretty good. Heck, I know Marcellus Dial catches some grief because of a very important missed tackle that ended up impacting the season probably more than it should have against Florida. But Marcellus had a really good senior year, too, in terms of playing in coverage. So if he can be like that, I think he'll be fine. I mean, I think Carolina's corners, since the staff has been here, they've played pretty solid and been pretty good. Heck, I think they were good under Coach Muschamp. I think the issue back then was safety. Well, now you've got a really good situation at safety back there, and so the secondary should, for all intents and purposes, be good. But yeah, Xavier, there's senior risers, and then there's guys like him that just explode. So I'm not saying you took it too far. I mean, I get the comparison, but man, oh man, if they get something like that out of anybody this year, I think it'd be fantastic.
Well, again, obviously the numbers and the way wide receiver, we notice the wide receiver, like how many great highlights have we played for defensive. If he has a ridiculous number of tackles or interceptions, I get it. I guess you're not going to notice O'Donnell Fortune if he has a great senior season as much as you would notice a wide receiver such as Xavier Legette, Preston.
Yeah, I just remember.
He's not going to throw at him.
That's exactly how I remember. I remember when Dante had his really awesome junior season, and in his senior season, he could have just basically had a drink on the corner because nobody threw to him. He was just out there, and basically the half of the field was done, and that's what happens with great corners. But O'Donnell doesn't have that reputation coming into the season, so you're going to look at teams trying him early on the season. But when you see good corners, oftentimes they're untested.
Guys, both of you, it's going to be interesting to start this season. I'm not going to lie to anybody. We're sitting here on April 2nd. I do not know a single thing about Old Dominion, who their quarterback is, could be, is. Couldn't name anything about him. But I do know Kentucky is likely going to start basically, he is a first-time starter. Brock Vandergriff is going to be getting that start, we assume, up in Lexington in week 2. And Garrett Nussmeier, who has played but will be making a road start at Williams-Brice Stadium, we all hope it's a night game, in week 3. That secondary, if they're improved, they should, I would assume, JC, do you agree with this, have the advantage on Vandergriff in Kentucky in week 2 and Nussmeier in week 3?
Who does Kentucky have? How did Kentucky's receivers come back this year? Dane Key and Barry Brown, all those guys.
Key did. Key is back again. I'm still.
That would depend. I would kind of look into that because those are good receivers. I mean, Vandergriff. How good can he throw the ball? Because he fell to third in that quarterback. I mean, he can run as a big guy, but how accurate is he would be my question there. But certainly, yeah, I mean, he's making his first SEC start. And then Nussmeier, they did lose Malik Neighbors and then the other kid, Thomas, off their receiving core. I mean, it's LSU, so they're going to have guys. But certainly with him coming to Williams-Brice Stadium, you sort of, if you can get run defense in that game, you like your chances. He's a good quarterback, don't get me wrong, but it's when you have Malik Neighbors and Thomas out there, that's a pretty good deal. And then you throw in the fact that Jaden Daniels played quarterback for them most of the year last year and could run as well. That was a pretty tough system to stop. So, I think early on you look at the schedule, you look at the quarterbacks, and you say, well, It's going to be a situation where it will be very helpful to have a good secondary and a good defense overall because of the teams you're playing.
Yeah, Nussmeier has. I mean, he's played. He's not going to be as inexperienced. Matter of fact, played a good bit in that Wisconsin game, 31 of 45 in that game, 3 touchdowns. So a little bit different for him here as opposed to Brock Vandergriff, who again has a long way, I think, to go to prove to anybody. Remember with Kentucky, also, both of y'all, Liam Cohen has left. I believe took the Tampa Bay job, if I'm thinking correctly. Kentucky will also be breaking in a new offensive coordinator in that game, and that should be kind of interesting as well as we move forward. JC, before we let you out, it sounded like you were leaning Connecticut-Purdue for your men's national championship. What do you got on the women's side of things?
Me, it's hard to go against South Carolina. I mean, I know the country probably wants Caitlin Clark and Iowa to win it. But something that wouldn't surprise me if UConn doesn't beat them. UConn's playing really well. They're kind of they're the afterthought because you have the underdog in NC State, you got the favorite in Carolina, you got the player of the year in Iowa with Clark, and then here's old UConn, the traditional power that's just there, kind of penciled in. Watch out for those guys. I mean, they're still UConn, but I think that's kind of how it sets up for me. Of course, I say don't be surprised if UConn wins, but I would love to have a rematch with Iowa. I mean, just from my standpoint, that's the matchup I'm pulling for with regards to Dawn Staley and her team. I think last year's game was just one that just got away from them or whatever. I don't want to call it a fluke, but I think it was fluke-ish. And I think South Carolina was the better team last year and is the better team this year, and certainly deserves that chance at redemption against that particular opponent and player.
Always appreciate it, buddy. Next week, I apologize. It'll be bright and early for you after maybe a long night of basketball, but we look forward to it and hope you have a great rest of the week.
All right, thanks, brother. Thanks, guys. See y'all.
Yep.
Take care. J.C. Sherbert there, as he does each and every Tuesday, joining us from thebigspur.com. We'll come back, hour 3. Maybe I've changed Preston Thorne's mind, and I think Preston's going to get a little angry. DJ Burns playing football?
Come on. What are we doing?
Hour 3 on the way. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru. Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. How can I call him the Mortgage Guru, you ask? Well, I can call him that from personal experience. When he helped me 4 years ago, almost 4 years ago in June, actually, it was about today that I was able to start closing on a condo on Lake Murray, and Jacob was there every step of the way, making sure I got the right interest rate, all the paperwork was done properly, and helped me close at the beginning of June. That's how I know I can call him the Mortgage Guru, and you can find out for yourself. Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank are ready to help you as we roll along in 2024. Maybe you're thinking about building this year. Well, guess what? There's a no-nonsense construction loan that First Palmetto Bank has, and it's something you should check into. 803-719-1005. First Palmetto Bank is locally owned and operated, so Jacob has local decision makers, which means quick and precise underwriting. For more information, call the Mortgage Guru today, 803-719-1005.
Greenlawn Drive at Garner's Ferry Road, that still seems to be impacting traffic a little bit. Also, I-26 westbound at I-77, that would be exit 116. And Highway 378 near Fort Jackson Boulevard, still working on that earlier accident. As far as your forecast goes, we're looking for one more day in the 80s, 84 to be exact. And then tomorrow, late tonight or into tomorrow morning, some storms. 73 will be the high, 63 and lower to mid 60s Thursday through Saturday. Right now, though, it's 67 on the early game.
Final hour on a Tuesday morning as we get you up and get you going, get you to the office. Be safe out there. Again, a reminder, Shane Beamer talking some football about 12:30 today. We'll have that here on 107.5 The Game, or at least have a recap of it. And what he has to say is spring practice rolling along, as we were talking with J.C. Sherbert about in the last hour. Thank you to him for joining us, Preston Thorne. And, yeah, you know what? They're doing what I asked. Just stay quiet. I don't need the videos. I don't need any. Let me hype my own self up.
You already got there.
You saw that. That was a huge jump. Huge jump. We get into April. It's supposed to be in the 80s today. I got way too excited. The coffee was a-flowing this morning. And the next thing you know, I'm all on the O.D. Fortune gravy train there with his kind of season. I didn't mean he statistically would have that season. Obviously, defensive backs just can't do that. But it is interesting to see a guy when it matters, and you kind of mentioned this, when it matters. This is it. Like, this is your contract year, essentially, for him. When it matters, if you decide, now's the time I should put in the work. Yeah. Now's the time I need to really lock down and focus and maybe focus on what I want my future career to be.
Yeah, because what happens is you just think you have time, and I guess that's just like life. You think you have time, and you don't. And then you look back, and all of a sudden, the way it used to work for us when we were in the meeting rooms, you would start in the back of the room, and then each year you would move forward. And then you look around, and all of a sudden you're in the front row now. And it's like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And you have to try and figure some things out, especially if the NFL is what you think is in your future.
So it'll be interesting. Again, we'll talk more, a little more spring football tomorrow, as we'll have some quotes from Shane Beamer as to what he sees. Again, I like what they're doing at least. I don't know. I have no clue what they're going to be. I have no idea how to see. I still want to see things. I just want to see. The spring game, probably the least excited I've been, not because of Shane Beamer, not because of the team or anything, but because I don't know what we're going to see in the spring game where I'm like, okay, now I feel good. Maybe it's me getting older and more cynical to where I'm just like, if Lenore Sellers has a big day, boy, I'm worried about that defense. If the defense has a big day, I'm like, oh, boy, I don't know if Sellers is ready for the big day. There's just not going to be – it's going to be hard for me. But you get to Old Dominion, I'm sure by then, by August 31st, you come around to that point, I'll be on the Gamecock Larry bandwagon. 12-0 until proven otherwise. Playoffs until proven otherwise. But at least for the summer, we'll try and rein it in. 803-404-6100 last night. Good for women's basketball. You had – a marquee game I have not seen this morning. I don't know if they've even put it out, the audience for that, what the viewership was. But Iowa and LSU, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and I've seen the video this morning of Angel Reese in the postgame kind of tearing up. Are you happy she's, what I assume is gone? Yeah. I assume she's gone.
Yeah, very much like we talked about with Camila Cardozo. It's time to move on. There's nothing else that she can do. She has won the national championship. Her star is as big as it can get. It's time for her to move into the the real world, essentially. So, yeah, I would assume that was her last game.
So, but it's almost now you don't have that villain.
Oh, there's somebody waiting.
Is there?
I don't know. That somebody.
Angel is an elite villain. She not only did she step into the role, she gave it a full-on bear hug and embraced it.
Well, it was just a perfect match, and I think because so many themes that we can intersperse here. Transfer portal, right? She goes to Maryland. It doesn't necessarily work there. I don't think her and the coach vibed. And then she comes to Kim Mulkey, and Kim Mulkey's like, bring it on.
Yes.
I can coach anybody. It doesn't matter. Because one of the quotes that I heard from Kim that I thought was amazing last year, they said, Coach Mulkey, you have a lot of personalities on your team, and your team is full of a lot of people. She said, that doesn't matter to me because I'm a personality too. And so it was a perfect synergies of folks who gain a lot of attention. And so, yeah, I think it was a match made in basketball heaven.
I think I prefer, might have to go down a path here in just a second. Do you prefer the coach being the villain or a player being the villain?
Oh, I definitely like the coach being the villain.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
I like in college, I like the coach being the villain.
All right. Last night, Kim Mulkey, I've not listened to this yet. Kim Mulkey talked about Caitlin Clark. Let's just see where villain Kim Mulkey, because you would think Kim Mulkey steps in. Is Kim Mulkey willing to give Caitlin Clark any credit, or does this just add credentials? Does it add to the resume of Kim Mulkey if she's not willing to? I've not heard it yet. Here is last night Kim Mulkey talking about Caitlin Clark.
Well, there's not a whole lot of strategy. You got to guard her. Nobody else seems to be able to guard her. We didn't even guard her last year when we beat them. She's just a generational player, and she just makes everybody around her better. That's what the great ones do. I think they had a kid that scored 21 and 18. She had 12 assists. Caitlin Clark's not going to beat you by herself. It's what she does to make those other teammates better that helps her score points and them score points to beat you. What did I say to her? I said, I sure am glad you leaving. I said, girl, you something else. Never seen anything like it.
What do you think?
Spoken like a true coach. Thank you for your service. Please leave.
Was she talking? Was she saying that through gritted teeth? Like
No, she's very. There were no gritted teeth. It was, I am really glad you are leaving. She enunciated.
Thank you very much for your services. Please leave this game. Go pro, please. Yeah, that's what you do as a coach when there's somebody who's been really beating you. And she stated very clearly, listen, man, she got off against us last year in the championship we just were better. Very few teams, as proven by her career-breaking numbers, have beaten her or have guarded her. It's very difficult to stop her, and they weren't necessarily up to the task last night.
No, and again, I'm not going to sit here and try and trick anybody into thinking I watched Caitlin Clark play South Carolina last year. Every once in a while, if it was on and I was kind of walking through the living room, I might stop and watch 45 seconds of it, but I don't go out of my way to watch Caitlin Clark play basketball. But last night, I did, and the way she plays is
what you saw last night was emblematic of what she's been doing for her whole career.
It's long threes, and I'm not saying this in a negative way. It's long threes, it's out of control threes, but she makes them. It's Steph Curry. Steph Curry wowed us when he showed up. A long time ago. Yeah, Steph's not a young pup anymore, but Steph was shooting the long threes. He's kind of playing with his mouth guard out of his mouth. He's doing it with a swagger and a smile that's annoying. But again, he brought his little daughter in there, who I think is now probably in high school, and we were all like, oh, he's so cute. Oh, look at his wife, Steph Curry. We love you. You're America's basketball player. And Caitlin Clark plays it with a swagger and plays it to an extent out of control that a lot of old school coaches, they would be bald because they would have ripped all the hair out of their head because of the way she just launches threes, just spins around and shoots them. But her form is second to none. The way she doesn't need much space. It was again funny that she tried to jump stop in the lane and it went horribly wrong.
Yeah, not her game.
It all of a sudden looked completely mortal. But it will be interesting to see her in this Final Four go against Connecticut now.
Yeah, and shout out, very rare statement coming from me or this station probably, but shout out to UConn for, as JC said, sort of being the forgotten about team, and Paige Beckers, who was on a path to be what Caitlin Clark is now, but was derailed by injuries, and she's been tremendous as far as a player is concerned. Really, really shout out to UConn for taking that. I declared them done earlier in the season. I still think that's true, but it's a testament to that team, that culture, and to Gino for them getting them this far.
803-404-6100. Also, yesterday, the Braves steamroll the Chicago White Sox. It is going to probably be a long season if you're a White Sox fan. If you're a Cubs fan and you're taking any kind of pride in the White Sox being down, it's going to be a great season because the White Sox are not good at the game of baseball right now.
No, they're not. And I have a lot of friends who are White Sox because you're one or the other typically, and I'm not a South Side fan. And so even if the Cubs don't do well, as long as the Cubs do less well, I'm good with that. I'm trying to speak in Bill's vernacular.
9-0 yesterday. The Braves steamroll the White Sox. Charlie Morton, old 40-year-old Charlie Morton out there striking out 6 White Sox.
Very old baseball fan here. Is interleague play even a thing anymore? Do we talk about interleague play?
Nah.
Or are we scheduling just games against whoever nowadays? Yes. Doesn't matter. Okay, all right.
Yeah, interleague play
is
not special.
Just wondering. It's very early in the season.
Not special. I actually have tickets later this year to go see the Braves and the Detroit Tigers. So,
yeah, I just feel like it was later in the year. I didn't think they played them at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, Braves went straight from Philly over to. I was interested kind of yesterday in that game just because wanted to see how the Braves would kind of hold up. Again, Charlie Morton picks up the win. Old man Charlie Morton strikes out 6. I wonder if there's an age as a batter where the pitcher's like 40 and he strikes you out and you're like, oh, man, I hope this game's been blacked out in our market. I hope nobody saw that. Yeah. Braves and White Sox later on. They will, I think, get back to. They will play later.
Also, Charlie Morton sounds like he's been 40 years old. That sounds like
he was born 42 and has actually just backed it up a little bit. Yeah, yeah. The name Charlie Morton makes you pretty funny. You're pretty sure he was born 40 years old and half bald, a receding hairline. Yeah, Charlie Morton. Braves and White Sox tonight. 7:40 is the time for that game for the Braves.
0-4. You think the White Sox think they can do it?
Reynaldo Lopez on the mound tonight for the Braves. We'll see what he's capable of.
You think they can go 0-162? They're on path.
Off to a strong start. Off to a strong start. One other Major League Baseball note from last night. Houston Astros throw a no-hitter there in their game, 10-0 win. Ronald Blanco throwing a no-hitter in his 8th career start as they blank the Blue Jays.
No one cares anymore.
It is strange. The no-hitter is an odd thing from 20 years ago. We'll talk more about this coming up on Thursday when we have our Carolina Turf Grass and Supply Chop House talk Thursday morning at 7 o'clock. Get you some Braves audio then. Up next, though, have I changed Preston Thorne's mind? Has Preston come to my side? He's already dragged me to his side with my hyping of South Carolina spring. It's not a good thing. Spring football. Have I dragged him to my side on the Final Four? We'll let Preston Thorne explain. You're listening to the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about my friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. They will matter where you are. They will come out to you. School, work, home, it doesn't matter. Absolute Glass will come out there and take care of it for you. Now, if you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass will come out and take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say all the time, if you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
We do have a few accidents out there you need to be aware of. Bushberry Road near Highway 302 at Northcutt Drive. Also, Greenlawn Drive at Garner's Ferry. Still working that earlier tie-up. I-26 westbound at I-77. I-126 eastbound at Greystone Boulevard. Slow down there. Old Charleston Road at Neely Wingard Road. Turkey Farm Road at Fulmer. And 378 near Fort Jackson Boulevard in the cleanup stages. 84 for the high today. Storms coming in late tonight, and then tomorrow we might see some morning storms. 73 for the high, 63 for Thursday, but it's 67 and overcast right now on the early game.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do so this morning. As we roll along, Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, want to remind you the craft beer card is back. You can spend $79, just $79 to get a $360 value. It's 12 craft beer locations, and at each location you can spend up to $30. That's how we arrive at a $360 value. But it's only for $79. All you need to do is go to 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals. It's the craft beer card. It is back. It is for the spring. You're going to love sitting outside enjoying a nice craft beer. 12 craft beer locations, $30 at each location, a $360 value, but it's only $79. Go to 1075thegame.com and click on Sweet Deals. A little bit of message board mayhem before we let Preston explain why maybe I've drawn him, unfortunately, to the dark side. One of these coming in from Tiger Rant last night. We all knew, right? We all knew the fix was in before the game. This is from Dallas Tiger 55. No way the NCAA was going to let Kim and Angel win. They want their perfect Clark in the finals. Refs were out to get us all night. Normal refs. We would have blown them out. Normal refs.
Fix is in.
The fix was in. Let me just check and make sure. Just check a few more here. Make sure we have, but yeah. Preston and I are having to, Preston and I making sure that some of these are, again, message boards are not always the place to go for what I'll say. This one coming in from Dogs 247. It says, I love the University of South Carolina. The truth must come out. The University of South Carolina is my dream school. Their academic excellence rivals Stanford and the Ivy League schools. This is where the affectionate term the Kudzu League originated. The architecture AI splendor of the campus rivals anything Frank Lloyd Wright ever envisioned. The leisurely walk past the Alex Murdaugh School of Law to the football stadium is every alumnus desire. The amazing landscape designs, along with the way blends in with early Appalachian single wides. The school is building a more than capable trophy cabinet. Bob Vila is working on his project as we read this. It is estimated that over 2 sheets of plywood will be used. You get the point. Georgia, for some reason, always keeps South Carolina on their mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a weird thing with Georgia to win championships, and for some reason, like, Georgia to always be focused on South Carolina. Like, you go over to the Dogs too far. It's what I appreciate their love for them.
Yeah, when you dredge up the bottom of the pond, you never know what you'll get. So who knows what's going to happen on the message boards.
803-404-6100. We'll get to some more Kentucky being upset about not making the Final Four. But first, we have to talk about you. You've kind of come to the dark side.
I think I might have. I stated earlier in the week that I didn't think this middle week was my favorite weekend of the tournament. I liked the opening week. I did start bench cut. I started the first week, and I cut this middle week. But based on the games from yesterday and based on the men's games, I think I'm revisiting this because, as you've stated eloquently, the Final Four is maybe anticlimactic if your teams are not in there, if there's no really compelling stories that are really interesting, aside from DJ Burns on the men's side, and it's whatever. For me personally, I think you might have brought me around to something. So I think I'm going to officially change my status on start bench cut. I'm going back to the drawing board, rearranging the depth chart. We're going to start the first week. We're going to bench the second week, and I think we're going to cut the Final Four.
You ready for this? Another and just kind of old. This is more of a, instead of a hot, this is old man rant.
Yeah.
Coming. This is something that is evolving as I really see myself getting older. Even though it is a Saturday night, start the games earlier on a Saturday. This Saturday, North Carolina State Purdue will start at 6:09, which leads us to basically a 9 p.m. tip for Alabama, Connecticut. I'm being serious. I'm not being funny about the old man stuff.
But here's the thing. I know we haven't gotten the numbers yet from the game last night. People wanted to watch that game. It was on at 7 o'clock, and guess what? People watched it.
Right.
They don't have to push it in. It's interesting how we've abandoned all of the other traditional things about network linear television, but yet this is the only thing where we feel like, well, people are only going to watch it if it's in this certain prime time slot. That's not true. If people want to watch it, they will. The game was on 7 o'clock last night. It was perfect.
Right.
Perfect timing.
Well, and you could bump up the Final Four, because if South Carolina's women's team was not in the Final Four, I'd be tempted to tell you, and this is a hot take, I'm pretty much done with basketball for the year. My basketball experience. So if I catch the Final Four, I catch it. If I catch the championship, I catch it. There is still an engagement in the women's side because of South Carolina playing, and we'll obviously talk about it this week.
Look at their time slots. Are going to be 7 o'clock on Friday night, and then they're going to have the afternoon game on Sunday.
Well,
those games will be watched.
But NC State Purdue is 6:09. But my point is to move this into the early afternoon. Move this into the early afternoon where it starts at 4, at 4:09 and then 6:09, and then be done by 9 o'clock. You see what I'm saying? Like, to get maximum viewing experience, and then the national championship will be at 9:20 on Monday. And I'm not going to tell you I'm going to be in bed not watching it at all. I'll catch a half, and I will say if it's a really good, if it's Purdue and Connecticut, because Purdue's 33-4 and has been thought to be one of the top 3 teams in the country all year. Connecticut has been thought to be one of the top 3 teams in the country. Houston being the other team that's kind of been thought to be top 3 all year. Connecticut's 35-3, Purdue's 33-4. If those two teams are playing, yes, at 9:20. I will watch the game. But is it East Coast bias? Is it me being selfish to say the West Coast can figure it out? I get it. Like, you're like, well, it's going to be a 6:20 start time for them. Is it selfish to say not my problem? I mean, is it? I probably is.
I mean, this is in line with, I talked about, I referenced this article last week, but they were saying that the restaurant industry is seeing that reservations are being made earlier and earlier. So the concept of the idea of, we're going to have an 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock dinner reservation is very quickly vanishing. More people want 5, 6 o'clock. It's just you want to do things and get done with it.
Yeah, and it's 2 games as opposed to, as JC said, the first weekend is just so much fun, and it's wall-to-wall basketball. You start watching games at noon. I mean, if you're on the West Coast, you wake up at 9 a.m. and you're watching basketball. I mean, that's the one time I was in Vegas, or I say the one time, but the last time I was in Vegas, it is a unique experience to have to get up at 8, go downstairs basically in your pajamas after a long night of doing whatever it is you would like to do in Vegas, get downstairs, get some kind of sandwich and a coffee to get the sleep out of your eyes, get to the sports book to place a wager on some kind of random noon Big Ten game, Illinois and Purdue, and then go back up to your room and have breakfast and watch the early game, and then by noon you're downstairs fully ready to go again. Being out on the West Coast is kind of a wild situation, but I don't know. I'm interested. The way, and we might do this more this summer because we are seeing an evolution of television and sports with streaming apps. Last night, I did sign on. I did the 7-day free trial with the Major League Baseball Network. I did not do it in time to see if I got the Braves in Chicago as part of that. I'll do that tonight at 7:40. But it was kind of fun yesterday flipping around, having all the games. It's been kind of fun having the League Pass. It's different than the way I grew up watching sports, being able to flip around and watch. I remember when we used to watch the NCAA tournament, Preston, 20 years ago, where you only got the CBS game. That was the game you got. And remember ready?
And, Bill, it was better.
Oh.
Because you know what you didn't see? You didn't see all the blowouts that were happening. All you ever saw was the game you were watching, and then it would cut to the next game, and there was only 5 seconds left, and UCLA was about to beat some team, and Tyus Eddy's running up and down the court, and you're seeing things. But now you kind of have to pick, and I don't know if it's better. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if this old man rant, we just named this section the old man rant section, but the idea of having a producer cut to a game that's a really close game instead of you watching a blowout, might have been something to that.
803-404-6100. DJ Burns has emerged one of the NCAA tournament's breakout stars. But while Burns' NBA prospects are questionable, multiple media members have found a new way to further the North Carolina State's big man story.
What are we doing?
By suggesting he could have a future in the NFL. Big in himself, a guy who prided himself on basketball.
I can't believe they're doing this to me.
We're going to let Preston Thorne weigh in on it.
It was my guy.
We're going to let you hear where he's already going with it. You want to hear the rant next. It's the early game. Weather in South Carolina, wild. Today, 80s. Today, 80s. On Thursday, 61 and windy. So today, air conditioning. Thursday, heating. That's why AAA Heating and Air is ready to take care of you and your family, because really, we never know what you're going to get. Remember, like last year, it was still chilly in like late May? Well, guess what? If your heating and air unit has been on the fritz a little bit, or you're worried about what may happen with the summer heat, call AAA Heating and Air today and get a free replacement estimate. See how much it will cost. And AAA Heating and Air has some great deals going on right now. So give them a phone call, 803-677-1500. You need to tell them you heard it here on 107.5 The Game with Bill Gunner. How about this? No payments, no interest for 2024. That's right. You don't pay a penny until 2025. There's a lot of great deals taking place at AAA Heating and Air, and you need to find out about them. Call today, 803-677-1500. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Bushbury Road near Highway 302, still a little bit of a slowdown there. Also, Highway 1 at North Grampians Hill Road. I-126 eastbound at Greystone. Old Charleston Road at Neely Wingard. And out in Blythewood, Turkey Farm Road at Fulmer. 84 for the high today. Storms coming in late tonight and into tomorrow. 73 for the high, 63 for Thursday. 67 right now on the early game.
$8:34 here on your Tuesday morning. Hope you're getting up, being safe, getting to the office safely. We'll carry you right on through the rest of the week. Go ahead and mark your calendars. Programming note for Friday. All right, programming note. We will air the women's basketball game right here on 107.5 The Game. So we will air the women's Final Four game against North Carolina State right here. 107.5 The Game in Columbia, 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock tip time. So that will move the baseball game, South Carolina's baseball game at home against Founders Park, at home Founders Park against Texas A&M. The baseball game will be on 1320 ESPN, 1320 AM ESPN, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch. So let me repeat just for those of you who will be listening. The women's basketball game on Friday will air right here, 107.5 The Game, and we'll repeat this throughout the week, but it will air right here on 107.5 The Game, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock start time. The baseball game, a big baseball series, we'll talk more about that. Gamecocks get Georgia Southern tomorrow night, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch. We'll talk more baseball as we move through the week, but the baseball game will air Friday night on 1320 AM ESPN, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch. So just a programming note for later in the week, obviously with so much going on with South Carolina athletics. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. DJ Burns has captured the nation's attention, including one NBA MVP. Here's Nikolai Jokic talking about it.
He's amazing. He's amazing. No, it's just fun. Actually, they must supposed to make it, right? Conference tournament, I think he's so smooth. Especially lefty. I like the lefty. And it seems like little teammates like to play behind the coach. Gotta do a good job.
Hard to hear that a little bit. Jokic there basically praising the big man's skill, and that made you really happy.
Well, it was the Spider-Man meme. You know, when the Spider-Man's looking at himself, it's like, hey, I know you.
Yeah.
You're me. You can't jump. I can't jump. Unorthodox. Maybe a little pudgy.
A little pudgy.
You know? You're my guy. So I'm sure that's what Jokic sees when he looks at DJ Burns. But, Bill, here's the issue. I was on the bandwagon yesterday. I've been on the bandwagon for about 2 months now. When they started this run, I took notice of them. And it's been all fun up until we just take things too far. We can't we can't have nice things. We got a big bally. And you mentioned Robert Tractor Trailer today, which thank you for that. Another big boy baller.
Big boy.
I forgot about the tractor trailer.
Oh, the tractor trailer.
But here's the deal, man. Apparently, some people are saying that if DJ does not have a future in the NBA, which we'll see about that he can just make some money playing left tackle in the NFL.
Not some money. 25 mil, maybe.
What are we doing? Why would people say silly things like this?
And this isn't people. This is two respected NFL reporters, Monday Morning Quarterbacks Albert Breer and NFL Network Peter Schrager.
Disregard anything else they have to say about football. Anything else. I don't know if they're saying this for clicks, but they're done after this. You shouldn't listen to a word that they have to say. Why would they say this?
This is Breer wrote, so this is not, he put this in paper. He did not say this where he could, take it back, but he says a top shelf left tackle can make $25 million per year. I don't know enough about DJ Burns as an NBA prospect to know if he's out there, if that's out there for him in basketball. But I don't think a Jordan Matata type of future for him in football would be totally out of the question.
Oh, you mean you're talking about the number 1 draft pick you're talking about the kid that they took from Philadelphia Eagles that came up through Australian rugby and played? He played rugby first and foremost.
Australian professional.
Yeah, very different than basketball. Because here's the thing about basketball, Bill. I don't know if you know this, but in basketball, when they touch you, they call a foul. You're not allowed to touch people in basketball. And I don't know if you know about in football, but the only thing you do is touch people. You beat people up. You push them. You ram them. And DJ Burns is fun when he's playing against all these little twigs in basketball, all the little cute kids that play basketball. It's fun watching them bump around people. But you know what he won't do that to? Any of the defensive ends that he would have to block. Why would an NFL professional say this? This is outrage.
Peter Schrager wrote, spoke to and texted multiple scouts, GMs about NC State big man DJ Burns as an NFL.
Get out of here.
OT prospect over the last 24 hours. He's listed at 6'9", but probably 6'7". A-plus footwork would get big turnout and potentially money if he participated in a pro day workout the week of the Final Four.
What are we doing? You realize you're going to try and take somebody who has not played football, which, by the way, I don't know how he escaped out of Rock Hill without playing football. That must have been a really difficult life for him running away from those football coaches up there. I know he's been running away for a long time. But you're going to tell me this guy's going to go straight from basketball to play the toughest position in the NFL with no training? Why would we even entertain something this silly? I'm off the bandwagon now.
The only thing that can be questioned.
He's amazing. He's amazing.
The only thing that can be questioned here, you know what day this information was presented upon? Are you going with an April Fool's joke here by these two NFL experts?
No, I think they were going for clicks. Well, they got me. If that's the case, they got me. But the thing is, people say stuff like this all the time, and they're just like, oh, well, you know, put him over here. Why not? He's big. He can play that position. Or move him over there. And it's like, especially left tackle. That is the most skilled.
But he has A-plus footwork.
Yeah,
A-plus.
Yeah, he can pivot foot. Of course, that means he can kick step, right? No, that does not mean he can do that. What are we talking about?
Yeah, that sport you played isn't all that hard. These basketball, these agile basketball players are able to come in and no problem. They've never played a snap.
Let me be clear. The position I played wasn't that hard. Left tackle is hard. That's a tough position. Some football positions is like whatever, man. Fullback, okay. Guard, Left tackle is a skilled position. That's very difficult to play.
803-404-6100.
I can't believe it. That was my guy, and now I'm going to have to be like, all right, DJ, that's enough of you.
I'll be interested. Look, I will, in terms of basketball, I think he's got a chance Saturday night to make himself some money.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, which is really interesting. Why are we just writing him off for the NBA? We've seen non-athletic guys be successful in the NBA. Why can't he play?
He actually, I haven't seen him. Step out and really shoot the basketball.
Yeah.
And that's actually going to be his biggest flaw because his passing skills and his footwork around the basket are going to be fine. And he's going to be able to match up with some of those twigs that get into the NBA now down low and move them out. But can he spread the court, or is he just a lane clogger where even your guys go into the lane? All right, man, got to get out of the way here. Like, we can't jump over you. You're a big, hefty dude. So 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap it all up. We'll put it all together and wrap up the Tuesday morning episode of the early game. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. Don't let the stress of taxes, levies, liens hold you back this spring. You don't need that in your life. You need to be enjoying the spring. But if you've had the IRS send you one of their dreaded notices of intent to levy or any of the other paperwork they'll send you and it's weighing you down, call the professionals at the Ecton Law Firm and get a free consultation. 803-771-9800. They have a local team dedicated to resolving your income or business tax issues for good. And you want that. That's exactly what you need. Professionals standing behind you, helping you along the way. And again, the Ecton Law Firm is ready to offer you a free consultation today. But you need to give them a phone call. Mention that you heard it here with me, Bill Gunner, 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. Call the Ecton Law Firm today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Just text you that email address this guy sent to us. It's pretty simple, but I just texted it to you, mattwarren@gmail.com. Reminder, we got baseball tomorrow night, 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first pitch. Georgia Southern comes into town. We'll talk a little more about the baseball season tomorrow when we come back on air. But make sure you go to 1075thegame.com and register for the Palmetto Citizens FCU Grand Slam giveaway. Right now, there's $700 in the pot. Every game, $25 is added. And if a Gamecock hitter has a grand slam, you can win all the cash in the pot. But you got to be registered. So you need to go to 1075thegame.com and register. Again, the Palmetto Citizens FCU Grand Slam giveaway. Who knows? You get registered today. Maybe tomorrow night you can win $700, which is in the pot. To find out if you will, you need to register first. 1075thegame.com, the Palmetto Citizens FCU Grand Slam giveaway. A couple of y'all weighing in this morning. Elwood weighing in and said, I'm glad y'all are talking about this regarding Burns. Colin Cowherd was saying the same thing yesterday. Burns could go to the NFL right away. It was an embarrassing take.
What are we talking? Come on, Colin. Come on, Colin.
RJ weighing in and said, Preston, maybe you haven't noticed. NFL is turning into a touch league.
Yeah. All right. You get in front of you get in front of Joey Bosa and tell me how touch the league it is. Yeah. Good luck.
Not buying it. 803-40.
Or Nick Bosa.
Or Nick, yeah. Any of the Bosas.
Yeah. Aiden Hutchinson.
Or the Watts.
We want to keep going? Yeah. TJ Watt disagrees.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. Again, last night, Iowa and LSU. So if South Carolina wasn't playing in this thing, did we max out? Was that peak interest last night? Was that the pinnacle? If South Carolina wasn't playing? Because now you still got a South Carolina-Iowa game hanging out there that if I wanted to be that message board mayhem conspiracy theorist, I'd be like, Connecticut, you have no chance. The NCAA is coming for you. They want South Carolina and Iowa. They want Dawn Staley and Caitlin Clark. That's still out there for them to have.
Yeah, that's the best star power that's out there as far as ratings. And I think maybe as far as the general concern in the rest of the, the casuals that came aboard, they probably might be dropping off a little bit. They might feel the same way we feel about the men's tournament. I think last night was the pinnacle, but it's just curious because the number one team, undefeated, a whole nother storyline is out there for them to produce.
I think it feels outside of Columbia, outside of most of South Carolina, Dawn Staley and the South Carolina women's team are the villains. We've been there too much. We win too much. We haven't won enough championships, but when you win too much, you become the villains.
Well, yes, that's what ends up happening, and it's not it's not necessarily for the personalities because compared this year's team to last year's team, we talked about it yesterday. The teams that were winning were not especially personable. They were very businesslike, which also could make people mad. It's just like you said, when you win, people dislike you.
They like you at first.
Yes.
You're the cute, cuddly story.
Yes.
Now that we don't like you, kind of like we don't like the Chiefs now.
Yes.
Chiefs won too much.
Very much so, yeah.
And with that in mind, I think that's what draws the people to the screen is, boy, I hope that Caitlin Clark takes that Dawn Staley down a notch. Because that's your story. It's not Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. It's the coach, which is the leader of the program, versus the player in Caitlin Clark who's heading to the NBA.
Well, the thing is this. Regardless of what happens, South Carolina will be back in this position next year. We'll be around here next year. We'll be here for the foreseeable future as long as Dawn Staley's here. I understand Lisa Blucher's a good coach, but I was done. It's a wrap. And no more Caitlin Clarkson coming ever again. We won't be seeing Iowa here for the foreseeable future.
It's kind of like when Oregon and poor Oregon didn't get their chance. It's at Fame when they had Sabrina Ionescu.
Correct.
And
exactly.
We haven't heard from Oregon again, and unfortunately COVID took that chance away from them.
We'll see y'all later. You all will not. You won't be around next year, as they said. So yeah, that's the big difference in these programs.
803-404-6100. I want to tell you about Mid-State Roofing. Owner and founder Larry Leitner. Well, they've been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry for nearly 30 years. And with rain on the way to start storming tonight and into tomorrow, is your roof ready to handle it? Well, guess what? Mid-State Roofing has a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week call center that you can speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee and get a maintenance contract, which is what you need. 803-356-1919. Again, it's 803-356-1919. You can visit them online, midstateroofing.com. Again, you will speak with someone. There is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, someone ready to handle your call. So whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, you need to have someone make sure that roof is in working order to keep your business or house running in a safe and pleasing manner to you. 803-356-1919. Call Mid-State Roofing today. If you've got a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. So we get a night off kind of from sports. It'll be a Major League Baseball night. We back away from basketball for 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Pick it up on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday. Is this now where you start to get into documentary phase, or where does television watching? I'm going Major League Baseball at this point. Does the NBA with the playoffs now towards the end of the month pick up your attention, or the NBA start to hone in a little bit there, get ready for playoffs? Do you go NHL? Do you fire up the old DVR and check out a football game from the fall?
No, I don't rewatch games. That's something I do not do. I know people do that. I've never done that. Maybe it just gives me flashbacks from watching film. I'm done with it once it's over. When the NBA starts up, I do get into the NBA playoffs, probably a little bit past the first round because those are sort of a little bit rote. maybe start getting some time for some more Dateline.
Oh,
more any cop procedural. I'm there. Law and Order, Chicago PD. That's me.
Time of the year, yeah. You got to find an A if you want to get into baseball. Twins and Brewers. 4:10 today. I'm going to make my effort. I tell you, I got the free trial of MLB Network. Preston.
Yeah, I want to know how it goes.
We're going to keep you updated on that. Appreciate JC Sherbert for joining us. A lot of fun this morning. Y'all have a great rest of the day. We'll be back tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Have a good day. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. You heard me talk about it. It's supposed to be in the 80s today. It's supposed to be in the low 60s on Thursday. You don't know what to do with that heating and air unit right now. And if it's been on the fritz a little bit, if you've heard it making some clinging or clanging and you're a little worried about it, get an instant quote now by calling AAA Heating and Air, 803-677-1500, and you can get an instant quote by mentioning me, Bill Gunner, at 107.5 The Game. And if you're worried about cost, do not be. With their guaranteed financing options, comfort is always within your budget, especially their new special, 12 months, no payments or interest in 2024. So call AAA Heating and Air today and get that instant quote. Get a free replacement estimate today, 803-677-1500. You can beat the seasons with AAA Heating and Air in South Carolina. Don't wait another day. Call AAA Heating and Air and learn more. Tell them you heard it here with 107.5 The Game and Bill Gunner, 803-677-1500.
All right, a wreck at Two Notch Road at North Grampian Hills. Also, we got one at 126 inbound Greystone Boulevard. Old Charleston Road at Neely Wingard and Turkey Farm Road at Fulmer. Your weather outlook for today, 84 for a high, but an 80% chance of rain as more clouds move in. For tomorrow, we'll have morning thunderstorms. 70% chance of rain, 73 for a high, 45 for an overnight low. Thursday, 63 for a high, few clouds, 40 degrees for a low. It's going to get really colder Friday, 38 for a low overnight. Can't believe that.
9 o'clock on your Tuesday morning. Welcome in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you, Captain Dave, producing on the other side of the glass. The Final Four is officially set for the women. Obviously, the men handled all their stuff over the weekend. Women last night, final 2 games of the Elite Eight, and oh boy, did they live up to the hype. Iowa taking out LSU, UConn taking down Southern Cal. We'll get to all the details of those games in just a moment, but before those games tipped off last night, we did have some local news in reference to women's basketball and what was a off day for the South Carolina women after they had already punched their ticket to the Final Four with the victory over Oregon State on Sunday. We did learn yesterday Camila Cardoso officially announces that she is entering the WNBA draft after this season concludes.